How you doing, people? Robert here. I'm going to do a video because I think it's important to do a video because there's a lot of controversy here and this relating to this thing called the EU and leaving Brexit. Now, people, the reason there's a lot of controversy is because people are too busy listening to the media, the propaganda by the politicians and everything else, the newspapers, the radio, TV interviews. And this is what the problem is, people. The reason we have a controversy today is because 17,000 plus decided to leave in a referendum, and because of the time and the period of time that it has took to leave, people have been dumbed down to think that wasn't a good idea. Well, that's wrong to think that, people. And the reason being, we've actually got people out there that think there is something called the EU. Let me be clear, people. There is something called the EU. It's a dead legal fiction, a dead entity that has no life. We have men and women representing this dead entity. And that's a fact that's causing harm to people all over the world, including Scotland, England, Ireland and Wales. And this can't be allowed to happen anymore, people. The EU is run by corporations, international corporations. And these people that are supposed to represent the people do not represent the people. They represent the corporations for corporate greed. These people are there to deceive, lie and trick the people to believe it's in their interest to stay in the fiction called the EU. Let me be clear, people. There is no man or woman called the EU. There is no man or woman called the EU Commission. There is no man or woman called United Kingdom or Great Britain. There is no man or woman called Germany, France, Italy, Sweden, etc., etc. They're all dead fictions that have no life. And this is where the trickery, the lies and deception is being used against the people. People need to waken up to this. They say, these politicians recently, that what's happening here in the Parliament is no democracy. Well, let myself be clear. There is no democracy. We have food banks, homelessness, people's benefits being cut, etc., etc. If there was democracy, the world would be a better place and the people would be better in position, because everybody has a right to have a home, food. They should not be lying in the streets and they should not be relying on food banks. It's wrong. Now, recently Boris Johnson has said he's going to pay money here, pay money there. Now, considering that our lands are supposed to be in debt, where is all these bits of paper coming from, people? Because that's all this is. Fictitious paper, promissory notes. The national debt in this England, Ireland, Wales and Scotland does not exist for man or woman. Men and women owe no debt. It's a fallacy, it's a lie, and you're being deceived. It's the corporations that owe the debt, the men and women that represent the corporations. Now, other examples are fraud being used against the people and deception. Is there is nobody called Labour Party. There is nobody called Scottish National Party. There is nobody called Tory Party, Green Party or Liberal Democrat Party. They're all dead fictions, people. There's men and women that represent it in capacity as politicians, which relate to persons. Now, people out there, the biggest majority, don't know if they're a man, a woman or a person. They're so dumbed down, they've been deceived that much, they think that they are a person. Now, the question relating to person, and let me put it straight in a plate. Has any man or woman out there met their person? went for a meal with a person, had a drink with a person, or even a conversation? And the three answers to these three questions is no. I have never met my person. My family have never met their person. I don't know what a person is. The only thing I know is the person that I understand is a bit of paper called the birth certificate. And this has serious implications for every man and woman because they believe they're a person, which they are not. Now, person is created with a legal system, legal society. And how this is done is when you get forms to register to vote. You'll see the forms are all white, black ink. And on the letter that they send, it tells you you're legally obligated to vote and fill in this form. That's a lie, people. Legal is not lawful, and that's the problem that people don't get the concept of legal and lawful. Legal is for a person, a legal system, a legal society, and lawful is for the man or woman under common law. There is common law, believe me, there is common law. When you fill in any legal documentation, benefit forms, housing forms, applications forms for a driving licence, registering to vote, and everything else, HMRC tax forms, that's for a legal person that doesn't exist. You're being deceived and tricked and lied to people. And they know this. That's why they do what they do. Because the main objective is to keep control of the people, the men and women, and steal their assets, their property, and their equity. And that's a fact. All these forms, people, are filled in black ink, uppercase, or all capital letters, and the biggest majority of them have a title. That is not your name. That is the legal fiction, the person that does not exist, and this is how you're being deceived and caused harm on a daily basis. These politicians are all incorporated to work for the corporations. They're actually sitting back laughing at you people, and that's a fact. Democracy, where is the democracy for the people? You've got men and women in uniforms with green veil, vests and green jackets called officers, not constables. And when these officers take the streets, they're not there to protect the people, they're there to protect the corporations and enforce rules, regulations and policy, but not law. And you get away with unprovoked violence against the people. And that's not acceptable. It's because they're there to enforce policy, not the law. If you are marching along the street, people, and you're not causing any damage, harm, loss or injury, you have lawfully right to be in that street. Plus the fact, no man or woman for any legal entity, dead entity or fictitious office will come forward and make a claim that the road is theirs. The people have a superior claim to the lands, and that is a fact. But the people don't know their rights. What I will say is people don't have duties, obligations and responsibilities to a legal system, a legal society. A man or woman has none of those. But when you fill in the paperwork and consent, and that's what you do, people, consent to be a person, you become obligated to this legal system, legal society, because you've signed a contract unknowingly without full disclosure. And that's a fact. You've diminished your capacity. Capis diminutio under Roman law means that you have lost your full status capacity and diminished it to a person, a fiction that doesn't exist. And that's why they can do what they do. Take your homes, get into your bank account, steal your sons and daughters. Stealing your sons and daughters, people say the state. There is no man or woman called state. It's a dead entity, it doesn't exist. Right? And that's a fact. Again, what happens with sons and daughters is they get taken away using rules, regulations and policies, but not law. And the problem we have here, people, is we've got a legal system, a legal society and a justice system that protect each other's arses. And that's a fact. And that's why these people are getting away with what they're doing. And that's a verifiable fact. And I have first-hand knowledge how it works. I'm in the Wide Awake Club, not the Sleepy Club. And there's a lot of people out there in the Wide Awake Club. Now the other thing here, right, is there's a point here, I stay in Scotland, and people, there's a group called Under One Banner, believe that the fiction, the SNP, is going to get independence. Well, tell me this, there's two things that people don't realise. Firstly, she has to have permission for this, right? Plus, every time it gets near that they're going to go for an independence referendum, it's always 2 to 3 years away. So they're lying to the people as well. There is nobody called the SNP. There's men and women that represent a dead legal fiction, and that's a fact. The other thing as well is, my thinking is, how can Scotland, the land of Scotland, and the people, mainly the people, be independent if you're part of this Mickey Mouse dead society known EU? These people, the biggest majority of them are not elected, right? They're just handpicked to serve a purpose for the corporations, and that's a fact. It's wrong, and people need to waken up to all these politicians, every one of them. The other thing as well, you've got people out there raising court actions, and the question you've got to ask, how much does this really cost, and who's paying for it? Again, it'll be the people's purse that's paying for all this nonsense, for a fraud. You people need to waken up and smell the coffee here. It's a fact. You're being tricked and deceived. And that's a fact, people. Scotland, certain parts of Scotland have farms right now that are being paid by men and women that represent the fiction EU not to grow food. Then we've got propaganda recently that there's going to be food shortages, there's going to be medicine shortages, and it's going to be austerity. And it's only now they're realising that. Is that the case? The supermarkets are going on the telly saying this and that, there's going to be food shortages, we're going to try and keep it up to standard to feed the people. This nonsense, people, is a deception to what's really going on behind the closed doors. This is a manipulated legal system that's there to screw the people for money and whatever they can take off the men and women. As far as the food stores go, this is just a way for them to use an excuse to up the prices, saying that they have to pay dearer prices. Well, if we had our own lands working, England, Ireland, Wales and Scotland, our own produce on a mass scale, we wouldn't be in this position. This is how it's manipulated, people. When people from a foreign country with a dead entity known as the EU pay our people here not to grow food, that's so we have to be reliant on them. We don't have to be reliant on anybody, people. Our lands are rich in minerals and everything else. It's just a way it's been manipulated to deceive the people. People have to waken up and smell the coffee before it's too late. It's diabolical that people stand out there shouting that we need to remain in the EU. They haven't got a clue, and that's the God's honest truth. All we need is free trade. The people. Free trade with whoever we want to trade. Not be tied to anybody, any specific entity anywhere in the world. There is plenty of entities and countries out there that we can trade with and get better quality and better supply, cheaper. And that's a fact. These politicians, Coburn, Johnson and the rest of these muppets, parasites, isn't there for the people. And if you think that's the case, think again. Decades and decades of voting for governments, what has it got the people? Fictitious taxes, it does not exist. And deprivation and poverty, and more control with a legal system, legal society. This EU referendum has a bigger picture, people. The United Nations is part of that. That has an agenda. That has no authority either. It's a fraud. They want an EU army. Do you think the EU army is for the benefit to protect the people? Is to protect the corporations and keep them under control? The enslavement, people, has started. It's a new world order. Agenda 21, Agenda 30. Depopulation, and that's a fact. And there's plenty of information relating to that. It's wrong, people. It's diabolical. And people need to waken up and smell the coffee. The other thing as well, for you people that's changed their mind, and for the Remainers that want to stay in the EU, why don't you do a favour for the people that's woke up and knows what's really going on against the people, and the people that don't want to be in this fiction known as the EU, because it's a fictitious world we're in, people, and that's a fact. Everything is fiction, and that is a fact. Why don't you people that's so hell-bent on this fiction known as the EU just pack your bags and fuck off and let the people that's woke up get on with life, and the people that don't want to be part of it get on with life? If it's so good, why do you not move over there? Just go, people. You're causing other people harm in our lands of England, Ireland, Wales and Scotland. And it's getting worse because people don't know what's going on. They listen to politicians, they listen to the people in the newspapers, they listen to the media and the radio, TV interviews with propaganda. Every word in the legal system, legal society, people, has a different meaning for what you hear and what you see on a document. Most documents don't have any language. It's all fraud. The old capital name is a fraud. The driving licence is a fraud. Registering to vote is a fraud. And anything else to do with the legal system, legal society is a fraud. It's time to waken up, people, and smell the coffee before it's too late. Anyway, people, I just thought I would do this wee video because this is the way it is. I attack the system all the time, and I know how the system works. It's took me nearly 9 years to get where I am. Now I know where I am, I'm comfortable, and I know how to deal with the problems that the legal system, legal society throw at a man. Remember this, people, you can only be a man or a woman. You have air in your body to breathe. You have blood in your veins that pumps. And you have life. And that is a fact. If you don't believe myself the man, go cut your finger and see what comes out of it. It can only be blood. Then go cut your persons, if you know where to find them, and see what happens with that. There is no person, and that's a fact. If you like this information, people, please subscribe to my channel on YouTube, Rob S. You people, please share this video. This video is done with good intentions. I don't register to vote, people, and I will never register to vote because there is no law requires a man or a woman to vote, only the person. And the only way they can get the person is if you fill in their paperwork and sign it with a wet ink signature. Then you become that person. You lose the reality and become fiction in a fictitious world, and that is a fact. Please subscribe to my channel, people. Everything I say and do on the video camera or any video can be documented and verified and cannot be rebutted. You people have a good day, take care and be safe, and thank you for watching this video. Bye bye.